Hey guys, tonight we're headed somewhere hot, wet, and miserable in all the wrong ways. No swords or castles this time, just mosquitoes, dysentery, and the worst humidity your sweat glands have ever imagined. We're going to the South Pacific, 1942, specifically Guadalcanal. You've probably heard of it. Strategic island, Marines fighting for control, one of the key turning points in World War II. But what they don't teach you in school is just how soul-crushingly awful it was to be there. Forget clean uniforms and crisp salutes. This isn't a heroic montage. It's a 7-month swamp-soaked fever dream. And unless you're a fan of constant shelling, rotting boots, and your organs slowly being devoured by tropical diseases, chances are you wouldn't make it more than a few days. Probably not even that. So before you settle in, make sure to dim the lights, maybe grab a blanket that doesn't smell like mildew, and fear. Like the video if you actually enjoy this kind of grim dive into the past. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Especially if it's not raining inside your house. Always interesting to hear where in the world you are. Unlike Guadalcanal, where most of the world's misery seemed to converge. Alright, it's August 1942. You're 19, you just landed on a small island in the Solomon chain, and the first thing that hits you isn't the enemy, it's the smell. Congratulations, you've just landed on Guadalcanal, or rather, you've been dropped into it. There's no runway, no welcome banner, no leis of flowers. Just a beach full of confusion, mud that eats your boots, and a dozen men screaming about gear, ammo, and where the hell the Japanese are. The good news? You're not being shot at. Yet. The bad news? You're sweating through your uniform before you even take 10 steps. And that's not water weight. That's your soul trying to leave your body through your pores. The sand is white, but don't let that fool you. It's not a tropical vacation. It's a trick. Because just beyond the beach is a wall of green so dense it looks like it was designed by someone who hates human movement. Thick jungle, vines like ropes, trees that sweat, and everything makes noise. Birds scream, bugs buzz, the leaves crunch like bones, and you haven't even moved inland yet. Your pack weighs 80 pounds. Your rifle is already collecting grit. Your socks are wet. You're not sure why, they just are. You expected combat. What you weren't ready for was the environment declaring war on you first. The air? It's not breathable. It's something between steam and fungus. Every breath you take feels like it's filtered through a damp sock. Your lungs revolt, your skin prickles, and your brain starts calculating how long it takes for mildew to grow on human flesh. It's 110 degrees, but somehow still feels hotter. There's no breeze, just heat trapped under the canopy, rolling off your body in waves. You wipe your forehead, it doesn't matter. 5 seconds later, the sweat is back, joined by a fly that seems convinced your ear is a landing pad. Your unit pushes forward. Sort of. It's more like a slow, cursed shuffle. Every step is a negotiation. The jungle floor is a combination of roots, ankle-deep sludge, and sudden drop-offs. Someone ahead of you slips into a hole, curses, gets back up covered in something that might be leech-infested water. No one laughs. You're too tired. You haven't done anything, and you're already exhausted. The humidity is a living thing. It sticks to you, wraps around you, climbs into your collar, settles between your thighs. Your uniform is supposed to be olive drab. Now it's a pattern of sweat stains and dirt, already stiff from the salt of your own body. You try to adjust it. You regret that immediately. Moving your shirt just lets more heat in. You think about taking it off. Then you remember the mosquitoes. They're not bugs, they're monsters. Clouds of them. Swarming your face, your neck, your wrists. Anywhere the fabric ends and your skin begins. They don't bite, they stab, they drill. They harvest your blood like it's a group project, and they all want credit. You slap one. 3 more take its place. Your hands are red. Not from blood, from the sheer number of bug guts smeared across them. Someone says something about setting up camp. There's no camp. There's just slightly flatter jungle. You drop your pack, your spine cracks, your shoulders scream. There's no tent, just tarp. And you're not sure whether to hang it or lie under it. You pick the latter. The ground is wet. Again, unclear why. It hasn't rained, but everything's soaked. Maybe it's condensation. Maybe it's the island crying. You sit down, immediately regretting it. The mud sucks at your pants. Your legs cramp. There's an ant crawling up your boot. No, not just one. A trail of them. Red, angry, coordinated. You brush them off. They bite. You learn very quickly that every creature on this island is mad you're here. The insects, the reptiles, the weather, they all want you gone. You were not invited, and the ecosystem is letting you know. You haven't even seen an enemy soldier yet, and you're already rethinking every life decision that brought you to this moment. Someone yells about digging a foxhole. You look at the ground. It's not dirt, it's roots, clay, and the compacted suffering of every soldier who tried this before you. You start digging anyway. Your entrenching tool is dull. Your muscles are weak. It takes 10 minutes to make a hole deep enough to lose your will to live. You lie in it. It floods instantly. Great. Now it's a puddle. You decide to sleep on the ground instead. Also a mistake. The sun's going down, which sounds like a relief. Except now, the jungle is coming alive in a different way. The sounds change. Louder, sharper. Night predators. Crickets on steroids. Frogs the size of small dogs. Something shrieks in the distance, and you hope it was a bird. Your eyes adjust. Not fast enough. You can't see more than a few feet in front of you. You reach for your flashlight. You don't turn it on. Too risky. You don't want to be a beacon. You sit in the dark instead, wondering if that rustle was just a lizard or a Japanese scout with a bayonet. The mosquitoes double in number after dark. They like the cooler air. You don't. You wrap yourself in your poncho. It traps heat. You start to sweat more. You swat blindly at the air. Nothing helps. You gave up on comfort hours ago. Now you're just trying not to lose your mind. Someone near you coughs. A deep wet sound. You know what that means? He's got something. Probably malaria. Or dengue. Or dysentery. The local disease menu is extensive. You've heard the stats. More men will die from illness than bullets on this island. You didn't believe it at first. Now surrounded by buzzing insects and a chorus of jungle moans, you're starting to. There's no clean water. Not really. They told you it was purified. It isn't. You fill your canteen from a stream that smells like leaf rot and something dead upstream. You add your iodine tablets. They don't dissolve all the way. You drink it anyway. You have no choice. It tastes like a chemical marsh. You gag. Then you drink again. You check your rifle. The bolt is already sticking. Too much humidity. Too much sand. You oil it again. The rag is dirty. You don't care. You try to keep your weapon clean. Because if the Japanese don't kill you, a jammed rifle in an ambush absolutely will. You think about home. About a real bed, a toilet, a dry pair of socks. Then you stop. That line of thinking leads to madness. There's a movement in the trees. You freeze. Finger on the trigger. You don't breathe. Nothing happens. Maybe it was a bird. Maybe it wasn't. You don't ask. You lie back down. The ground squelches. And still, no shots fired. No contact. Just waiting. Always waiting. The worst part? You came to fight a war. Instead, you're fighting mould. Your boots haven't dried since you got here. Your skin is starting to peel. You're chafing in places you didn't know could chafe. You itch constantly. Every pore is a wound. You scratch one too hard and now it's bleeding. You pat it with your sleeve. That makes it worse. You try to sleep. Sleep laughs in your face. The heat doesn't drop. The bugs don't stop. The noises get worse. Every dream is a nightmare. Every sound is a threat. You don't know what time it is. Your watch broke. The batteries gave up. So did you. You curl up, poncho half draped, rifle in your arms, like that will protect you. It won't. But it makes you feel slightly less alone. You try to remember why you signed up. Why you volunteered. Or maybe you didn't. Maybe they picked you. It doesn't matter now. You're here, and no one is coming to make it better. The jungle doesn't care if you're brave. It doesn't care if you cry. It doesn't care about strategy, or medals, or flags. It just wants you gone. And this is just your first night. You don't so much wake up as you return to consciousness in stages. Your body aches in places you forgot existed. Your back is one with the ground now. Your legs feel like sacks of wet laundry someone kicked down a ravine. Your mouth tastes like rust and mildew. You open your eyes, instantly regret it. The sun is back. Blazing, unfiltered, blinding. Somewhere a bird lets out a scream that doesn't sound like any bird you know. Probably because it's not. It might be a lizard. Maybe something worse. You've stopped asking questions like that. You sit up. Bad idea. A headache hits you like a boot to the temple. Dehydration. Again. You reach for your canteen. It's warm. Like soup. You take a swig anyway. It burns a little. The iodine taste has gotten worse overnight. Or maybe your body's just done pretending it's okay. Your uniform is stuck to your skin. You peel it off your arm. It makes a noise, not a good one. There's a new rash forming where your sleeve meets your elbow. Raised, red, and angry. Like everything else around you. You scratch it, then stop. You remember what happened the last time. That scar's still healing. The jungle's already alive. Not in a charming National Geographic way. In a nature's trying to end you way. The humidity is up before the sun even fully rises. Your breath feels like it's coming through a wet rag. You stretch your legs. Both knees pop. One of them makes a noise you've never heard from a joint before. Not reassuring. You get on your feet. The soles of your boots squelch. That's normal now. Nothing's dry. Nothing has been dry. Nothing will be dry. You hear the first shell before you know what it is. A low, distant thump. Followed by a whistle. Then impact. Somewhere down the line. Trees snap. Men curse. Shouting starts. You're not under direct fire yet. But you know how this works. The Japanese artillery comes in waves. Always early. Always imprecise. But never comforting. You grab your helmet. It's dented. Okay, you haven't figured out how that happened. Maybe during the landing. Maybe you dropped it. Doesn't matter. It still fits, sort of. You strap it on. You duck slightly, even though you're nowhere near the front. Just habit now. Like flinching at loud noises or constantly checking your rifle. Breakfast, if you can call it that, is handed out by a guy who looks like he's aged 5 years in 1 week. Hardtack. A can of meat that smells like old pennies and spoiled gravy. A spoonful of powdered coffee you're supposed to mix with water, but there's no time and no stove, so you chew it like regret. Someone nearby opens their ration tin, immediately gags. You hear the phrase, "smells like dead raccoon in a wet sock." That sounds generous. You force yourself to eat anyway. Calories are currency. You don't get to be picky here. You chew the meat. Or try to. It resists. It's more texture than taste. You wash it down with another swig of warm iodine water and make a mental note not to vomit. Not because of dignity. That's long gone. Just because you don't want to waste the food. There's shouting up the line. Someone's gone missing. Maybe wandered into the jungle to relieve himself and never came back. Happens more than you'd think. The foliage eats people. Some get lost. Some step on something. Some find snakes. Or worse. The Japanese patrols move like ghosts. You won't hear them. You'll just feel the blade. You do your part to reinforce a position near a muddy incline. Technically it's a foxhole. Realistically it's just a divot filled with disappointment. You try digging it deeper. You hit root after root. Your hands blister again, right over the ones that were already raw. The entrenching tool keeps slipping. Your grip's weak from dehydration. Your sweat burns your eyes. You rub them with a sleeve that hasn't been cleaned since you landed. Now they're burning worse. You hear more shells. Closer this time. Dirt sprays up a few yards away. One guy hits the ground. Another freezes. You don't flinch anymore. Not really. Just brace for the impact that might be yours. This is how it goes. Sudden. Random. No warning, eh? A burst of earth. A scream. And then it's over. Until the next one, there's a swampy section down the hill. You can smell it before you see it. Rotting vegetation, stagnant water, and something else you don't name out loud. A body was found there last week. American, Japanese, didn't matter. It was bloated, covered in flies, and half melded into the mud. The heat did things. Fast. Flesh doesn't last long here. And yet, the stench lingers for days. You're assigned to a patrol near the edge of the jungle. 4 guys. You don't know all their names. One of them coughs constantly. Could be a cold. Could be the beginning of something worse. No one asks. No one wants to know. The trees close in as you move. Visibility drops to about 5 feet in any direction. Your heart beats louder than your boots. Every step is deliberate. Every vine could be a tripwire. Every leaf could be covering a pit. You scan, you sweat, you breathe through your mouth, because the air smells like fungus and mildew. A bird flaps overhead. You flinch. False alarm. One guy swears loudly. You don't tell him to quiet down. You just keep moving. You come across a clearing. Not natural. Trees knocked down. Something burned here. Ash clings to the underbrush. You see pieces of metal. A helmet, bent, no body. But you know someone died here. Probably several someones. You don't linger. Back to camp. Or what passes for one. A series of pits, sandbags, and men sitting in various stages of mental collapse. One guy is talking to himself. Another's cleaning his rifle for the 5th time today. The chaplain is nearby, writing in a notebook. Probably a letter to a family who's about to get a visit from a man in uniform. The sky darkens. Not because it's late, because it's about to rain. Again. You feel it before it starts. The temperature drops slightly, and then the deluge. Not a drizzle. A full-on biblical downpour. Instant soak. Your poncho is useless. The water pools in your foxhole, runs down your back, seeps into every piece of gear. The mud is back. It's not just under your feet. It's in your boots, under your nails, in your food. You've stopped trying to stay clean. The concept no longer applies. You bail water with your helmet. Pointless. It just keeps coming. Your socks are soggy. Your toes are wrinkled. You peel one off. A chunk of skin comes with it. You put it back on anyway. A few yards away, someone screams. Not panic. Pain. You don't move at first. Then training kicks in. You scramble toward the noise. A guy's holding his leg. Blood everywhere. Shrapnel. From what? No one knows. Probably a stray mortar round. You press bandages to it. He cries out. You lie to him. Tell him it'll be fine. It won't be. He knows it too. You both go quiet. Corpsmen arrive. They do what they can. It's not much. A shot of morphine, a field dressing, and a tag on his boot in case he doesn't make it through the night. You slump back into your hole. The rain keeps falling. The insects are louder now. Somehow the night is even darker than the last one. You breathe shallow. Everything smells like wet death. You close your eyes for a second. Not sleep. Just rest. You know tomorrow won't be better. It'll just be different flavours of bad. And you're still waiting to actually fight someone. You wake up and immediately wish you hadn't. There's no alarm clock, just the sound of someone hacking up something wet about 10 feet away. Could be phlegm. Could be lung tissue. You don't ask. You're still half asleep, soaked, and lying in a pit of mud that was once a foxhole but now functions more like a personal swamp. You try to roll over. Everything sticks. Your back, your knees, your soul, all welded to the ground with a mix of sweat, jungle rot, and what you hope was rainwater. The sky is turning grey, though morning is a strong word. It's more like another period of light in the never-ending stew of damp suffering. You rub your eyes with the back of your hand. Big mistake. There's grit on your skin, and now it's in your eyes. You blink rapidly. Doesn't help. You wipe with your sleeve. Now, they just sting in stereo. Someone nearby mumbles something about chow. You don't answer. You're not hungry. But you're also not allowed not to eat. You learnt that early. The body burns through calories out here like a fire, chewing through damp kindling. You don't eat, you pass out. You pass out, you get left behind. You get left behind, you don't get found. Or you do, just not in one piece. You drag yourself upright. Every joint complains. Your knees crunch. Your back sounds like someone cracking sticks over a campfire. Your boots slosh. The water never leaves them. You gave up on dry feet 2 days in. Now they just feel like lukewarm bags of pudding strapped to your ankles. The mess area is a joke. A dented table. A few barrels. Some crates that may or may not have been hit with shrapnel. You stand in line with a tin tray that looks like it's been used to hammer nails. The guy ahead of you coughs into his shirt. He smells like spoiled ham and trench foot. You're not sure which is worse. Breakfast arrives in a scoop. You don't know what it is. No one knows what it is. Or it's beige, it's lumpy, and it jiggles in ways that defy both physics and comfort. Someone calls it reconstituted eggs. Someone else calls it whatever died in a bag. Technically, it's protein. Realistically, it's a cry for help in food form. Next comes a puck of bread. Hardtack, they call it. It looks like a hockey puck, feels like concrete, and tastes like historical failure. You bang it on your tray. It makes a sound like a rock hitting a tank. You bite it. Your teeth regret that decision immediately. You soak it in your coffee. Not because you want to, but because it's the only way to soften it to non-lethal levels. Coffee, by the way, is an insult. It's a brown liquid with the bitterness of betrayal and the flavour profile of burned rubber soaked in ditch water. It comes from a packet labelled instant, which is ironic because nothing about it dissolves instantly. Half of it clumps, the other half floats, and the rest just settles into a gritty sludge at the bottom of your cup. You drink it anyway. You don't even taste it anymore. You just need it, not for the caffeine, for the ritual, for the illusion that something in this routine is normal. The guy across from you is eating with his hands. He lost his spoon somewhere between the last skirmish and the last thunderstorm. He's using a spent shell casing to scoop his food. You watch him for a second. He catches your eye. You both nod. No words. Just the silent agreement that everything here is broken, and that's just how it is. A plane flies overhead. You all freeze. Could be ours. Could be theirs. You can't tell from the sound anymore. You're too tired, it passes. No strafing, no bombs, just noise. Still your stomach knots until it's gone. Then back to chewing, if you can call it that. Someone tries to make a joke. Something about how breakfast is better than the chow back home. No one laughs, not even him. He was trying to make himself forget. Didn't work. You scrape your tray clean. Not because it was good. Because you can't afford to leave anything. Even bad calories are better than none. There's a small black insect crawling on your biscuit. You flick it off. Another one lands before you finish the motion. You don't even bother again. You just eat faster. You've already swallowed worse. A truck rolls into the clearing. It's not a supply truck, just transport. Two guys jump off the back, both covered in mud, one limping. They look around, dazed. They've been on patrol for 3 days, no rations, no sleep. The medic starts yelling at one to sit down. He doesn't respond. The guy just stares into the trees like they owe him something. His face is blank. His eyes are gone. You wipe your tray with a piece of damp cloth you keep in your pocket. It's not clean. Nothing is. You scrape the remaining crumbs into your mouth with your thumb, then throw the cloth back in your jacket. Your jacket, by the way, smells like wet goat and fear. You stop noticing around day 4. Someone throws up behind you. Might be the food. Might be the dysentery. Either way, you don't look. That would mean acknowledging it. That would mean it might happen to you next. You don't want that energy. You try to brush your teeth. Try being the operative word. Your toothbrush is frayed. The paste ran out a week ago. You use salt, or baking soda, or whatever's on hand. Some guys chew jungle bark, others just rinse with iodine water and call it good. Dental hygiene is more of a theory now. Your gums bleed every morning. You ignore it. There's an itch on your neck. You scratch it. Something pops. Might have been a bite. Might have been a blister. Either way, now your fingers are sticky. You wiped them on your pants. Your pants have stopped pretending they're fabric. They're more like wearable sandpaper now. Every movement is an abrasion. The medic passes by, handing out malaria pills. They're giant, chalky. You dry swallow one. It sticks in your throat for a good 30 seconds. You gag. You force it down. If you don't take them, you get the shakes. If you do take them, you get nightmares. Pick your poison. Most of the time, it's both. The heat is already building. The sun's been up for less than an hour, and the jungle is back to simmering. You feel the sweat return like an old enemy. It starts at the base of your spine, creeps into your armpits, then soaks down the back of your knees. Your socks go from damp to drenched again. You hear movement in the underbrush, not near, just enough to make you uncomfortable. Could be monkeys, could be scouts, could be nothing. The silence that follows is worse, because nothing stays still in this jungle unless it's watching you. Someone asks if there's more food. A sergeant laughs. Not in a funny way, more like a bark. "This ain't a diner," he says. Then he walks off to yell at someone else, probably for falling asleep on watch. Not that anyone blames them. Sleep is more of a hallucination now. Something you chase but never catch. Your stomach growls again. You already forgot what you just ate, not because it wasn't filling, but because it wasn't real. Just matter. Just substance. Something to shovel in and forget about. You used to think about food all the time. Now you think about not dying before the next delivery shows up with more cans of despair in gravy sauce. You clean your rifle. Or try to. The rag is wet, the oil's low. You wipe anyway. It's not about getting it perfect, just functional. If it jams, you're done. If it doesn't jam, you're still probably done. But the odds are slightly less horrific. Someone mentions movement near the ridge. Could be nothing. Could be a recon team coming back. Could be something else. The officers start pacing. You hear someone cock a weapon. The medic grabs his bag. You stand up, suddenly aware of how much food is sloshing in your gut. Your hands tighten around your gear. You check your helmet strap. You feel the sweat under your arms turn cold. Or maybe that's just fear. You move out. Into the green again. Into the heat. Into the noise, and breakfast is already a memory, not a good one. You're only a few minutes into patrol, and already your shirt has turned against you. What used to be fabric is now a semi-liquid sheath of regret clinging to your back. The collar's soaked, the cuffs are stiff with salt. Your shoulders itch, but scratching just rearranges the misery. The sweat doesn't roll off your skin anymore. It just collects, forms little greasy rivers, and sits there, stewing in your body heat until it soaks into the cloth, or evaporates straight back into the air like betrayal. You remember what dry used to feel like. You remember fresh cotton, clean socks, t-shirts that didn't smell like a swamp. That was before Guadalcanal. Before you learned that water had personalities. The kind that invaded, that stuck, that didn't care about your hygiene or your morale. The kind of moisture that doesn't clean you. It owns you. Rain comes without warning. Again, not a storm, not dramatic. Just relentless sheets of warm drizzle, sliding through the canopy, soaking you from every angle. Your poncho is packed somewhere you can't reach without taking off your rifle. So it stays there. Useless. You pretend the water's cooling you down. It's not. It's just combining with your sweat into a new fluid that smells like mildew and despair. You try wiping your face with your sleeve. It does nothing. Your sleeve is wetter than your face. The trail you're following turns into soup. You try stepping over a puddle. You land in another one. Your boot disappears with a loud squelch. When you pull it out, something wriggles off the sole. You don't want to know what it was. You keep walking. The guy behind you stumbles. His foot got caught on a root hidden in the sludge. He falls hard, face first. Comes up cursing, mouth full of brown water. He spits. It doesn't help. Now his entire front is coated in mud and his pants are sliding lower. The drawstring snapped 3 days ago. He's been tying it with wire. You glance down at your own belt. It's holding, barely. The metal's rusted. Everything's rusted. Your gear, your canteen, the buckles on your pack. Even your dog tags are turning orange. They cling to your chest like little badges of oxidation. Your socks gave up a long time ago. You can feel the skin on your heels peeling. You're trying not to think about it, but every step rubs your wet foot against the soaked inner lining of your boot like a slow-motion cheese grater. You'll check them later if you remember, if you're not too tired, if they haven't fused to your skin by then. You reach a small clearing. That's what they call it anyway. It's really just a slightly wider circle of green hell with fewer branches trying to claw your face off. You pause to catch your breath. Not because you're out of shape, because the air here doesn't give you oxygen. It just gives you steam. You sit. Immediately regret it. The ground is saturated. Water seeps through your pants like you just sat on a sponge. You shift. It gets worse. You can feel the damp spreading. Underwear doesn't help, especially when it's made from the same soggy material as your outer layer. Cotton wasn't designed for jungles, but no one told the quartermaster. You take off your helmet to wipe your brow. The sweat pours into your eyes. The band inside the helmet is soaked, squishy. Smells like rotting felt and swamp rot. You flip it upside down. A small trickle of water runs out. Perfect. Even your gear is crying now. You try to dry your hands on your pants. Pointless. The fabric's been damp for days. Not just from sweat or rain, but from the humidity that seeps into everything. Your skin, your boots, your morale. None of it is immune. You gave up hoping for dry a long time ago. Now you're just trying to slow the rot. One guy pulls off his shirt to wring it out. What comes out isn't water. It's more like broth. Everyone within 10 feet flinches. You keep yours on. Not because you're tough, but because peeling it off would probably take skin with it. And there's no time for infections. You already have 3. You remember hearing a rumour once, before the landing, that some guys got foot rot so bad their toes fell off. You laughed. Now you're not laughing. You're looking down at your boots and wondering how many layers of skin you've already lost. Another guy mentions dry socks. You stare at him. For a second you hate him, not because he's lucky, because he's lying. There are no dry socks. They don't exist anymore. They're a myth, like hot showers and beds without sand. Back at camp, there's a line for laundry. Not that anyone expects miracles. It's just a metal drum with fire under it and a pile of clothes that look like they were pulled from a ditch. Yours are in there somewhere. Probably. They won't be cleaner. Just boiled. Someone's hanging shirts on a line between 2 trees. It's not working. The air is wetter than the clothes. A breeze would help. There isn't one. Just the thick, motionless slap of jungle air pressing down like a damp pillow. Your own extra set of clothes, the one you were saving, is already damp. Packed in the bottom of your kit, wrapped in plastic that ripped days ago. You pull them out anyway, hold them up. They smell like mildew and mould. But they're slightly less wet than what you're wearing. That's the new standard. You strip in the open. Modesty died with the 3rd rainstorm. You pull on the replacement shirt. It clings to you instantly. No different, just colder. You stand there for a moment, unsure why you bothered. A drop of sweat runs down your back. Or maybe it's rain. Or condensation. You don't know anymore. All moisture feels the same now. Personal, invasive, permanent. Someone passes you a canteen. You drink. The metal is slippery in your hand. Your fingers are pruned like you've been soaking in a bath. You haven't touched clean water in weeks. Your skin is turning soft in all the wrong ways. The cracks on your knuckles never close anymore. They just stay red and raw and vaguely infected. You think about your pack. Every item in it is damp. Your socks are damp. Your letters from home are damp. Your Bible is damp. Your cigarettes are damp. The matches are all ruined. You tried lighting one yesterday. It crumbled. Like your patience. The sun comes out again. That's worse somehow. Now you're not just wet. You're wet and baking. Your shirt steams against your back. The sweat comes faster. Your pants start to chafe. Every step turns into an act of raw friction. You reach down to adjust. It doesn't help. Nothing helps. You dream about towels. Not even warm ones. Just dry. Just something that doesn't stick. You think about those little hand dryers in public bathrooms. You'd sell your soul for one of those right now. Maybe two. Someone's walking past with a piece of canvas over their head. He looks like a ghost. The bottom of his trousers are black with mud. His boots make a squish with every step. His shirt has 3 tears in it. One across the chest, one down the back, and a third you can't explain. He doesn't notice. He's looking straight ahead. His face is blank. You don't say anything. You just watch him go. Like everyone else does. Like you all will when it's your turn to wander off in silence and waterlog defeat. You sit back down on a crate that leaks under your weight. Your fingers trace the seam of your shirt. It's unravelling. There's mould on the bottom hem. Black spots. They weren't there yesterday. You scratch your arm again. Another bite, or rash, or both. You don't care. You pull the collar of your shirt up. It smells like mildew, wet wool, and something sour. You drop it again. Breathing is optional. A medic walks by carrying a satchel of quinine tablets. He smells like wet gauze and antiseptic. He nods. You nod. No one speaks. Conversation takes energy, but you're all saving it. Later you'll try to wring out your socks. They'll drip. You'll put them back on. You'll sleep in them. You'll wake up in them. They'll still be wet. Because here, nothing dries. Not your clothes, not your gear, not your patience. You stop expecting it to. You're finally starting to accept the permanent damp. Your uniform clings like it's fused to your skin. Your boots squelch in ways that shouldn't be physically possible, and you've stopped calling it sweat. It's just part of you now. But just when you think you've adapted to the island, something moves in your gear. You freeze. Not like you're scared. You're past scared. This is more like caution mixed with resignation. You lift your pack flap slowly. It hisses. Not your imagination. You pull back and see the tail disappear deeper into the fold of your wet tarp. You let the flap drop. Congratulations. You now share living quarters with a snake. You don't know what kind. You don't care. There are at least 3 species on the island that can kill you. One bites, one squeezes, and the other does both. The Marines don't get field guides. You don't need taxonomy. You just need to not die. So you leave the pack where it is. Let the snake have it. It's his now. You shift your gear around. The movement disturbs the underbrush. And now the ground rustles in 5 directions. You've learned not to look. If it's a lizard, it'll leave. If it's a spider, you won't see it until it's crawling on your neck. If it's a rat, well, he'll be back later. Probably for your food. Possibly for your socks. They come out after dark, mostly. The rats, they're huge. Bigger than the ones back home. Not city rats, jungle rats, battle-hardened, well-fed, and utterly fearless. They crawl over you while you sleep. You used to flinch. Now you just let them pass, hoping they don't stop for a snack. One guy had his toe chewed while he slept. Another woke up to find one inside his boot. He screamed. No one helped. Everyone else was busy checking their own boots. You tried hanging your pack once to keep the rats out. They climbed the rope. You tried storing your food in a mess tin. They chewed through it. They'll eat anything. Crackers, meat, soap. Someone swore they gnawed on his dog tags. That one might have been a dream, but no one laughed. At night, the noise is worse. The jungle never shuts up. Insects scream from the trees. Frogs bark. Birds shriek inhuman noises that sound like a child being dragged across gravel. Every crack of twigs sounds like incoming footsteps. You lie awake, staring into the black, counting mosquito bites and wondering how much blood you've lost. The mosquitoes are a special kind of enemy, not like the ones back home. These ones are engineered by Satan. Bigger, faster, louder. They travel in squads. You can slap one, miss two more, and get stung 5 times in the process. You try netting. It rips. You try repellent. You ran out last week. You try covering up. The bites come through your uniform anyway. At this point, you suspect they have drills. You once counted how many bites you got in a single evening. You stopped at 40. Now you just accept it. You've got welts on your arms, neck, face, even inside your ears. You scratch until you bleed. You scratch in your sleep. You wake up with your own blood under your nails. You wash your hands. Doesn't matter. The wounds go red, swell up, get infected. The corpseman gives you ointment that smells like foot powder and failure. It helps, briefly. Then the cycle starts again. There are other insects too. The ants come in waves. Black ones, red ones, some that sting, others that just bite and hang on. You brush them off. They bite harder. If you step on a nest, they swarm. You run. You scream. Everyone's done it. No shame in that. It's an initiation. Then there's the centipedes. Long, shiny, angry. One crawled up a guy's sleeve once. He stripped so fast his rifle hit the mud. The bite swelled his arm up like a balloon. He couldn't hold a weapon for 3 days. The corpsman lanced it with a knife. No anaesthetic. Just rum and gritted teeth. You've started keeping your boots upside down when you sleep. Not because someone told you to. Because the first time you slid your foot into one and felt something squish, you screamed loud enough to wake the whole trench. It was a frog. Or a slug. Or something worse. You didn't check. You just threw the boot, cursed the island, and walked barefoot for the rest of the day. Snakes are less common, but when they show up, they don't sneak. They make their presence known, slithering across your path with a casual arrogance that says they know no one here can stop them. You don't bother them. You step back. You let them pass. That's the rule. The guys who don't follow it don't stay around long. One guy tried to kill one with a shovel. Swung too late. Got bit. He screamed, went stiff, and by the time the corpsman arrived, his face was already the wrong colour. They called for evacuation. The stretcher team never came. No one saw him after that. They say he died behind the latrine, face down in the mud. No ceremony. Just another hole in the ground, same as the rest. The jungle doesn't care how tough you are. It doesn't care about training or rank or your pre-war plans. It sends its agents in waves, furry, slithering, buzzing, all with one objective: make you miserable, then dead. You once caught a glimpse of a scorpion the size of your hand. It was sitting on a ration tin like it owned the place. You backed away slowly. That night, you dreamed about it, crawling into your sleeping roll. You didn't sleep much after that. You've given up on sleeping bags. They hold moisture. And bugs. Now you just lie on your poncho, wrap the corner around your legs, and pray nothing crawls inside. One guy tried sleeping in a hammock once. The mosquitoes loved that. Bit him from underneath. He woke up looking like he'd been hit with a shotgun blast, covered in lumps. Couldn't stop scratching for 3 days. We called him Itchy until he got trench foot and transferred out. Or maybe he didn't. Maybe he just stopped talking. You found a spider on your face once. You didn't scream. You didn't panic. You just froze, waited, let it crawl off. Then you vomited. Not from fear, from the realization that this is normal now. You don't complain anymore. Complaining takes energy. So does being grossed out. You're past that now. You're a walking buffet for half the food chain, and nobody's closing the kitchen. You tie your sleeves at the wrists. It helps a little. You tuck your pants into your socks. Not because it looks good, because otherwise something will crawl up and ruin your week, or your life. One guy claims he found a rat nest in his helmet. Another found a beetle the size of a cigarette lighter curled inside his canteen cup. You stopped believing these were exaggerations around the second week. You used to joke about it. Now the jokes are gone. Now it's just a silent contest of who can keep going the longest without breaking from the crawling, biting, writhing misery of sharing your personal space with the entire insect kingdom. You look down and realise you've been bleeding again. The scratch reopened, probably from your own nails. You don't bother bandaging it. Just smear some mud over it and move on. If it festers, the corpsman will know what to do. Or he won't. At night, you cover your ears with a damp rag. It doesn't block the buzzing. Just makes it less piercing. You try not to think about the rats, or the snake under your pack, or the thing that moved under your tarp last night. You close your eyes. Something scuttles across your foot. You don't move. It's better not to know. By now you've learned that basic human needs don't take a break just because you're in a war zone. Eating's already a nightmare. Sleeping doesn't count. And when it comes to relieving yourself, there are no good options. There's just outside and worse. You feel it coming not long after breakfast. A rumble in your gut, the kind that tells you you've got about 10 minutes, maybe less. Could be the canned meat. Could be the untreated water. Could be whatever bacteria has taken up permanent residence in your intestines since week 1. It doesn't matter. When your stomach decides it's time, your only job is to not lose control in front of the others. You grab your entrenching tool. That's the first step. You're not carrying toilet paper. You ran out days ago. Now it's just leaves, maybe an old sock, maybe nothing at all. Depends on your luck. And today, like most days, you're out. You head into the jungle. There's no latrine. The one someone dug last week filled up in 3 days and collapsed after the last storm. Now it's a pit of disease and broken promises. You don't go near it unless you're ready to lose a boot or your will to live. So you pick a new spot, about 50 yards from camp, far enough away for decency, close enough that if something goes wrong, someone might hear you scream. You find a clump of bushes and start digging. The dirt's soft at the top, then turns to roots and clay. You dig anyway, time's ticking, you crouch, every joint complains. Your knees wobble, your ankles sink into the mud. The humidity makes it worse. You're sweating. Again. Always. And now you're trying to do your business in a crouch that feels like a punishment for crimes you didn't commit. The bugs find you instantly. Flies circle. Mosquitoes land. Ants crawl up your boot. You swat, lose balance, catch yourself on a tree. Bad idea. The bark's covered in thorns. Your hand bleeds. Now you're trying not to fall. trying not to scream, and trying not to think about the fact that every square inch of this island is actively fighting against your ability to use the bathroom like a human being. You finish. Kind of. You reach for your backup plan. A leaf. You don't know what kind. You don't care. You just hope it's not poisonous. You've seen what that does. One guy had a rash so bad he couldn't sit for a week. Another used the wrong plant and ended up with blisters. The medic called it a tropical reaction. Everyone else just called it what it was, jungle karma. You bury the evidence. Sort of. The hole's shallow. You kick some leaves over it. Not ideal, but nothing here is. You wipe your hands on your pants. Like that makes a difference. Your pants are already stained, crusted, and stinking from a dozen similar emergencies. This is just one more. You stand up and hear something move behind you. You freeze. You've got nothing but a shovel, and your pants around your knees. Classic Guadalcanal moment. You spin, ready to swing. Nothing there. Probably a lizard, or a rat, or your imagination slowly curdling from dehydration and fear. Back at camp, someone's trying to build a proper latrine again. Just a trench with a plank across it. There's no privacy, no walls. Just open air and mutual suffering. You walk past and catch a whiff. Your stomach turns. The sun's been baking that trench all morning. And now it smells like a chemistry experiment gone wrong. You keep walking. Another guy is squatting in the open with a look on his face that says he gave up on dignity 4 days ago. He waves at you. You nod back. No shame here. Just mutual acknowledgement that this is what life has become. The medic's handing out water purification tablets. You take some. They taste like chlorine and dust. But if you skip them, you get the runs. Again. You've already done that dance. Sudden cramps, mad sprint, gear half off, nearly falling face first into your own mistake. You'd like to avoid repeating it. One guy didn't make it in time last week. It wasn't funny. It wasn't tragic. It just happened. He cleaned himself with his jacket, burned it, and hasn't spoken much since. You tried digging a personal latrine near your foxhole once. It flooded. Filled with rain, then overflowed back into your sleeping area. That night was long. You spent most of it perched on a crate, trying not to breathe through your nose. No one talks about hygiene anymore. No one brings up proper disposal or sanitation or any of the lectures you got back in training. The jungle ate those rules like it eats everything else. You do what you can, when you can, and hope the next guy downwind has a forgiving soul. You find a scrap of newspaper in a crate. It's from 6 weeks ago. You use it to wipe the sweat from your face. Then you fold it and stick it in your pack. Emergency TP. One corner is already stained from something. You don't care. That's gold now. You hear someone groan behind a tree line. You don't go investigate. If it's bad, the medic will find out. If it's worse, they'll dig a hole and send a letter. Either way, it's not your business until it's your turn. The rains come again that afternoon. The latrine trench floods. Again, the plank floats. Someone tries to fish it out with a stick. Fails. It sinks. Everyone pretends it never existed. You go back into the bush. Same spot, same squat, same ritual. You don't even flinch anymore. The jungle watches. You ignore it. By now you've accepted that every toilet break is a gamble. You might get bitten. You might get ambushed. You might pick the wrong leaf. You might come back dirtier than you left. There are no guarantees. Just the vague hope that this time, maybe, you'll get through it without becoming a cautionary tale. You don't always make it. At some point, you stop counting the mosquito bites. They're everywhere. Your arms, your neck, your hands, your face. You even found one on your eyelid. You didn't think that was possible. It is. You know, because your eye swelled shut for half a day, and the medic just looked at it, shrugged and said, "Yep, happens." You've taken your anti-malarial pills. You take them religiously. Not because you trust them, but because you've seen what happens when you don't. You've watched someone shake so hard they nearly rolled off their cot. You've seen the sweat pour off a guy's face like he was being waterboarded by his own body. You've watched a man convulse, puke, and try to fight invisible enemies in the air. That was malaria. And that guy? He took the pills too. The pills don't prevent it, not really. They just make it harder for the parasite to kill you quickly. It still gets in eventually. The mosquitoes are too many, too aggressive, and too hungry to lose this war. You slap them constantly. They win anyway. Every buzzing sound at night is a potential death warrant. The symptoms start small, fatigue, but you're always tired, so you don't notice. Then the chills, that gets your attention. Because it's 90 degrees and you're shivering like you're naked in a meat locker. You wrap up in your poncho. You start sweating 10 minutes later. You rip it off. Repeat that a dozen times over 2 hours. Then the fever hits. Not a gentle rise in temperature. A full-on eternal inferno. Your heart races. Your breath shortens. Your vision starts to go hazy around the edges. You blink and see shadows that aren't there. You hear voices that aren't talking. Someone says your name and you say, "I'm fine." That's the lie everyone tells right before the corpsman comes. When he does, he gives you 3 things: a canteen, a sheet, and a place in the corner of the shelter, half that smells like old urine and burnt canvas. You lie there sweating, freezing, hallucinating, and thinking maybe a bullet would have been faster. But malaria isn't the only thing waiting to ruin your life out here. Not by a long shot. There's dengue fever. Same mosquitoes, just a different form of agony. The symptoms are similar. Fever, pain, vomiting, maybe a rash. You can't tell the difference. Neither can the corpsman. They all get lumped under jungle sickness, treated with water, salt pills and quiet despair. Dysentery though, that one's unmistakable. You'll know it the first time you sprint into the jungle and fail to make it more than 3 steps. The cramps feel like you swallowed barbed wire. The diarrhea is violent. The dehydration is immediate. You drink water to stay alive, but that just keeps the cycle going. You're leaking from every end, and by the 2nd day, you can barely sit up. They call it the trots like it's something funny. It's not. It's what kills more men than bullets. Quietly in ditches, behind tree stumps, in the corner of a trench while everyone else pretends not to smell it. Then there's the skin stuff. Rashes, boils, fungal infections. Your feet peel. Your thighs chafe raw. Your armpits turn red and weep. Your fingernails turn dark. You scratch without thinking. Then you bleed. Then it scabs. Then it cracks open again the next time you lift your rifle. There's a guy on the other side of the camp with jungle rot on his legs, so bad they wrapped them in torn up ponchos and tied them with wire. He doesn't walk anymore. He just lies there, waiting for someone to decide if he's bad enough to ship out, or not bad enough to waste a stretcher on. Trench foot? That's almost guaranteed. Your boots are never dry, your socks are always soaked. You peel them off at night and the skin comes with them. Your toes look white, puffy, like they've been boiled. They smell like meat left on a radiator. You clean them, dry them, Rewrap them. Doesn't help, they just get worse. Ringworm. Hookworm. Scratches that become ulcers. Scrapes that never heal. Infections that get into your joints, your eyes, your ears. One guy got an abscess under his armpit the size of a golf ball. They cut it open with a field knife, no anaesthesia, just a bottle of watered-down whiskey and 2 guys holding his arms. He passed out anyway. Lice. Not even worth talking about. Everyone has them. Your scalp itches so much you want to peel it off. You scratch until you bleed. You scratch while you're eating, while you're talking, while you're sleeping. No one says anything. They're all doing it too. One guy had a worm under his skin. A real one. You could see it moving when he flexed. They cut it out. It squirmed. He didn't scream, just smiled and said, "Finally." And then there's just the heat, the exhaustion, the endless body-breaking fatigue. Your heart pounds faster now, even when you're still. You wake up tired. You walk like you've been hit by a truck. Every joint aches. Your muscles feel hollow. You blink too slow. You see spots. You forget words. You forget where your rifle is. You forget what day it is. And if all of that somehow doesn't get you, and there's always the jungle. You trip, fall, cut yourself on a route, and the next day your leg's twice the size. You breathe in mould spores and develop a cough that rattles your ribs like maracas. You slip in the river, inhale a mouthful of swamp water, and spend the next week vomiting bile and screaming every time you move your stomach. You've seen people die without a single bullet touching them. Just a fever, a bad cut, a rotting tooth. That's all it takes. This place doesn't need enemy soldiers. It kills you with heat, with moisture, with bacteria. The jungle wins through attrition. You look down at your hand. Your knuckles are split. Your nails are dark. There's something growing between 2 fingers. You don't have time to worry about it. You just wrap it in a rag and keep going. There's always something else trying to kill you. One more thing, one more symptom, one more reason not to stop. You take your pill. You drink your water. You wipe the sweat from your face with a cloth that's never been clean. You tell yourself you're still fine. You're not. But no one is. By now, your body isn't so much a tool of war as it is a damp science experiment. It's not holding up well. Your skin used to be normal. You had pores, texture, maybe the occasional zit. Now, it's a battlefield. You've become an unwilling host to a range of bacterial squatters, fungal infestations, and whatever evolutionary experiments the jungle decided to test on you. Let's start with your feet. They've given up. Not figuratively, literally. The skin's gone soft and pale from being wet for too long. The creases between your toes have split open. The ball of your foot looks like an old potato. The corpseman calls it trench foot, but that phrase doesn't do justice to the experience of standing up and feeling the skin on your heel slough off in your sock like it's molting. You change socks when you can. It doesn't matter. The new ones are just as wet. There's no drying. You just rotate them in and out of dampness, hoping one pair feels less like seaweed than the others. You tried hanging a set on a stick once. It rained 10 minutes later. Of course it did. Your boots used to offer protection. Now they're just containment units for moisture and misery. The insoles are permanently squishy. They smell like a dead animal wrapped in leather. The laces are frayed. You tie them tight anyway, even though they bite into your ankles like cheese wire. You can't walk without them. You can't walk with them. Either way you limp. Then there's the skin rot. That's the nice term. The corpsman calls it tropical ulcers, Amas, but you're pretty sure that label was invented by someone who never saw it up close. It starts small. A rash, maybe a patch of red. You scratch it. Big mistake. It opens. Then it oozes. Then it gets crusty. Then the crust falls off and it bleeds. Then it starts over, but bigger. Your thighs rub together when you march. That's another problem. The chafing turns into raw flesh. You try walking with your legs wider apart. You look ridiculous, but it's either that or let your inner thighs turn into ground meat. You tried talcum powder. It ran out 2 weeks ago. Now you use ashes from the fire. Doesn't help. Just makes your crotch look like it was dipped in soot. Your armpits aren't faring any better. The combination of sweat, friction, and jungle bacteria has created something new. The skin is dark, shiny, and permanently moist. You can't lift your arms without feeling a sting. You do it anyway. Every time you shoulder your rifle, your armpits scream. You stopped caring. Pain is just background noise now. You've got sores on your elbows, cuts on your knuckles. Your lips are cracked and peeling. You chew the skin without realizing it. You spit out blood. You keep doing it. One guy tried using lip balm from a care package. It melted in his pocket. He tried applying it anyway. Ended up smearing melted wax and sand across his face. He doesn't try anymore. Your scalp itches constantly. Lice? Probably. Everyone has them. You tried shaving your head. The stubble just collected sweat and turned your head into a fungal terrarium. You let it grow back. Now it's sticky, itchy, and clumped with scabs. You scratch anyway. You can't stop. Sometimes you scratch until you bleed. Sometimes you don't even notice. The corpsman has ointments. Sometimes. A tiny tin of something that smells like old garlic and sulphur. You dab it on the worst spots. It stings like hell. You scream through your teeth. You apply it again. If you don't, the rot spreads. Your underwear hasn't been dry in a month. You've got a rash on your lower back that looks like someone tried to tattoo you using acid and a rusty fork. There's no mirror here, but you've seen the expressions on people's faces when they glance at it. One guy said, "Jesus," that's all. No one wants to talk about it out loud, but everyone's slowly falling apart. You see the way people walk now? Not upright, not confident, just forward. 1 foot at a time, dragging, adjusting, compensating for pain they can't treat and don't have the energy to explain. The ones who don't walk that way anymore? And they're in the medic's shelter, lined up like driftwood, covered in bandages that used to be white. Some of them don't speak. Some of them don't move. A few are waiting for a boat to take them out. Most won't get one. And behind all of it, wrapping around every sore, every limp, every scabbed over knee and pus-soaked sock, is the other thing no one admits out loud. The sadness? It's not depression exactly. It's not grief. It's something else. Heavier. Like someone poured concrete into your chest and forgot to let it cure. You move slower. Not from pain. From weight. Emotional sludge. You wake up, stare at your own hands and feel nothing. You eat. You breathe. You function. But it's mechanical now. The part of you that cared, that's somewhere else. Packed up and shipped out with your old expectations. You used to talk to the guy in the next foxhole. Now you just exchange glances. He scratches his arm. You scratch yours. He mutters something. You don't answer. You both stare at the same tree for a while. Then you move on. One guy laughed yesterday. Just once. A short, bitter snort after someone slipped in the mud and face planted into a puddle. Everyone looked at him like he'd spoken a forbidden word. He stopped, wiped his mouth, didn't laugh again. You haven't smiled in days. You haven't had a reason to. The closest you get is when your wounds stop leaking for more than an hour. That's your win for the day. A dry bandage, a cleanish sock, the absence of pain, if only briefly. You've forgotten what you looked like before all this. You're not clean anymore. Not in any sense. Your fingernails are black. Your neck has lines of dirt so deep they might be permanent. Your breath smells like rot. You don't even know from what. Your own stomach? Your infected gums? The bacteria in your sinuses? You used to think of the war as fighting, guns, battles, maybe glory. Now it's just your body slowly decaying under a canopy of trees that doesn't care about your suffering. The enemy's out there somewhere, sure, but most of the time, the only thing you're battling is your own biology. You sit in your hole, scratch the back of your knee, pick at a scab on your elbow, watch the pus bead up, then dry in the heat. You put your helmet on to block the sun. It slides down your forehead, itches. You don't adjust it. You just sit and rot. There's no real wake-up time anymore. You come out of sleep when the jungle decides you've had enough. That might be a mosquito landing on your eyelid, a rat stepping on your neck, or the sound of a distant shell thudding into the tree line. You don't sit up fast. That costs energy. You just blink until your eyes adjust to the light or the steam or whatever combo of the two is leaking through the trees today. The first movement of the day is always the hardest. Your body is stiff, damp, and covered in layers of dried sweat, fresh sweat, open sores, and probably some fungus. You stretch. Something cracks. You stop. The pain radiates from your knees, your spine, your hips. Everything hurts. There's no position that feels right. So you move anyway. You check your boots before putting them on. Always. You bang them together to make sure nothing's nesting inside. A frog falls out. Standard. You scoop out a glob of mud and something else you don't want to identify, then shove your foot in and hope today isn't the day trench foot becomes gangrene. You strap on your gear. Your belt digs into your waist. The buckle's rusted. The strap on your canteen snapped last week, so now it's tied with bootlace. You've got 3 ammo pouches, one of which holds bullets. The other 2 hold scraps of food, half a sock, and a crushed pack of cigarettes so damp they're more symbolic than functional. The day starts with someone shouting. Always. Orders barked like they're supposed to make sense. Something about patrols, or shifting positions, or digging new fortifications because someone up the line thinks 2 inches of dirt will stop artillery. So you dig again. The shovel hits a root, then clay, then a patch of soft earth that smells like something died there. Maybe it did. You don't stop. You can't. You keep digging until your hands blister again, or until your hole collapses from last night's rain, or until someone tells you to dig somewhere else. Then you start over. You stop briefly for chow. It's a metal tray with some warm grey sludge and a biscuit that you're 40% sure is made from sand and regret. You eat it. You don't talk while eating anymore. There's nothing to say, and chewing takes focus. The coffee is hot today, which almost counts as a miracle. You sip it and feel it burn a new layer onto your throat lining. You finish the meal. Your stomach doesn't complain. It just absorbs and moves on. After that, more work. Maybe you fill sandbags. Maybe you string wire. Maybe you march to a new spot and spend the rest of the afternoon trying to figure out if it's less miserable than the old one. It isn't. It's just a different combination of heat, bugs, muds, and the smell of unwashed bodies cooking in their own uniforms. Someone says you're on watch tonight. Great. That means less sleep, more staring into the dark, hoping something doesn't stare back. You nod. You don't argue. Everyone takes their turn. It's not personal. It's just math. In the afternoon, the sun turns the jungle into a convection oven. The air doesn't move. The bugs don't stop. You sweat through everything, again. Your clothes feel like they're melting. Your socks slide down your ankles. Your thighs stick together when you walk. You feel dizzy. You drink water. It tastes like metal and iodine. You drink it anyway. A guy collapses nearby. Heat stroke. 2 others drag him into the shade, fan him with a hat, pour water on his shirt. He comes back barely. No one calls for a medic. He's not bleeding. He's not missing a limb. He's just hot, like all of us. Then it's time for patrol. You grab your rifle, wipe the sweat off your hands, and fall in line. You move through the trees like ghosts, except louder, wetter, and more exhausted. You step over roots, duck under branches, scan for tripwires you know you'll never see until it's too late. Sometimes there's contact, sometimes there's not. Today there isn't, just the oppressive feeling that someone's watching you from the other side of the greenery. You keep moving, you don't speak, you don't even gesture anymore. It's all muscle memory. One step, another. Breathe, don't fall behind. You return to camp with soaked socks, a cramp in your shoulder, and a new tear in your pants. No one greets you. Everyone's busy, digging, eating, sleeping, staring into space. You drop your gear. You sit. You don't even think about it. You just sit where you land. The mud soaks in. You barely feel it. You check your hands. Blisters popped again. You wipe them on your shirt. You think about changing your bandage, then forget. It can wait. Dinner's not better than breakfast. A different kind of canned meat. A smaller scoop of mystery rice. You eat it without noticing the flavour. You finish it without chewing the last few bites. You put the tray down and wipe your mouth on your sleeve. You scratch the side of your neck. Another bite, another scab. It gets dark fast. No sunset, just dimming, then blackness. You check your rifle again. You check it 3 times a day now. Not because you're paranoid, because you've seen what happens when someone forgets. One jam, and you don't get a second chance. If you're on watch, you sit in the hole. You listen to the jungle. It's loud. Too loud. Then it's quiet. Worse. You blink. Stare into the trees. Think you see movement. Then realise it was just your own breath fogging your vision. You wipe your face. You adjust your grip. You try not to blink too long. If you're not on watch, you lie in your shelter and try to sleep. The sounds of the jungle seep in. The smell of latrines and damp socks wraps around you. Something scurries nearby. You close your eyes tighter. Someone coughs. Someone snores. Someone mutters in his sleep. You listen. Then eventually your brain shuts off. Not because you're relaxed, just because it has to. Tomorrow is the same. Dig, march, sweat, eat, patrol, sleep. If you're lucky. If you're not. You get to do all that with a fever. By the time breakfast rolls around, you're not hungry. You're hollow. Hunger's not even the right word anymore. That stopped meaning anything after the 3rd week. Now it's just a persistent ache somewhere beneath your ribs. A low pulse of discomfort that reminds you you're still alive. Barely. They call it chow. You wouldn't. You'd call it a form of punishment wrapped in aluminum and compromise. There's no mess hall, no trays lined up like a factory. It's just a battered field kitchen. If you can call a dented drum and a box of dented cans a kitchen, manned by a guy who's just as exhausted and fed up as everyone else. He ladles out portions like he's trying to make the pot last another week. He probably is. You look down at your tin. It's grey, or brown, or a colour somewhere in between. Could be meat. Could be beans. Could be something they use to seal roads back home. You ask what it is. No one answers. You poke it with a spoon. It jiggles. You eat it anyway. It's cold. Not because it's meant to be, but because there's no time and no fuel to heat it properly. The guy ahead of you took the last of the hot coffee. You pour lukewarm water from your canteen onto your instant mix, swirl it, drink it down in one go. It tastes like the inside of a burned shoe. You get a slice of bread. If you're lucky. If the supply line held. Sometimes it's mouldy. You scrape off the worst spots and eat it anyway. You don't even taste the mould anymore. Texture is the only thing you notice. Rough, dry, like someone baked cardboard and called it rustic. Once, they gave you powdered eggs. That was supposed to be a treat. It tasted like regret and sulphur. You chewed for 3 minutes before giving up and swallowing it whole. Your stomach didn't know what to do with it. Neither did your intestines. Someone across the log has peanut butter. You stare at it like it's treasure. He got it in a care package. It's down to the last smear at the bottom of the jar. He licks it out with his finger like he's savouring the final moments of happiness on Earth. There's canned meat, technically. Spam or something like it. It sweats in the heat. The fat congeals in the corners. You mash it onto a cracker. The cracker breaks. You eat it with your fingers. They smell like rifle oil and swamp water. You eat anyway. Someone opens a can of peaches. Everyone turns. For a moment, the war stops. He offers a spoonful to the guy next to him. That guy nearly cries. It's the sweetest thing anyone's tasted in weeks. Actual sugar. Actual fruit. Then it's gone. Like a hallucination. Midday meals are worse. Mostly the same thing, just warmer and wetter. Sometimes the cans don't open properly. You saw a guy slice his thumb on one, trying to force it with a bayonet. He bled into the food. He ate it anyway. No one blinked. You've eaten rice soaked in ditch water. You've eaten meat so salty it made your tongue crack. You've eaten beans that came out of the can, already fermenting. One guy tried to make a stew from ration bits and hot rainwater. He called it jungle gumbo. No one laughed. Everyone ate it. Cigarettes are traded like gold. Not for the nicotine, for the taste. Even a stale, wet one offers more flavour than anything on your tray. You let the smoke sit in your mouth like it's soup. You don't even inhale. You just hold it there, pretending it fills something. Dinner is a repeat of lunch, which is a repeat of breakfast, which is a reminder that time is meaningless and calories are just a number you chase with a spoon. You hear rumours of new rations coming. They never arrive. The supply chain is a rumour itself. Ships get sunk. Boats get lost. Crates get misrouted. You get the scraps that survive the journey. You stopped expecting variety. You stopped hoping for anything fresh. If someone said apple or steak or pasta, you'd stare at them like they were speaking another language. You dream about food, real food, but even in the dreams it's distant, blurry. You wake up with your stomach growling and your mouth dry, staring at a dented tin that smells like wet burlap and regret. Food isn't nourishment anymore. It's fuel. It's compliance. It's something to occupy your hands and distract your brain from the taste of iron in the water and the endless grinding sameness of everything else. One guy tried fasting for a day, said he wanted to reset his stomach. He passed out halfway through a patrol. No one talked about it again. You eat standing up sometimes. Other times you squat near a tree, chewing while swatting flies with one hand. You don't wipe your hands. There's nothing clean to wipe them with. You don't mind. It's all part of the same experience now. Food, dirt, sweat, blood, jungle. You tried saving a chocolate bar once. From a care package. Kept it in your pocket for a special occasion. It melted. Leaked into the seams. You licked it off the wrapper and told yourself it was still worth it. It wasn't. But the idea of saving something nice had become the only nice thing left. The guy next to you chews on something hard. You ask what it is. He says beef jerky. You ask where he got it. He says don't ask. You don't. Half the time you're constipated. The other half you're sprinting for a tree. There's no balance, just symptoms. You eat whatever you're given. You chew it slow so it lasts longer. Doesn't matter. You're hungry again an hour later. You're losing weight. Everyone is. Your pants don't fit right. Your belt's on its last notch. Your face looks hollow. You caught your reflection once in a mess kit. You didn't recognise it. Your eyes looked like they were borrowed from a corpse. The jungle doesn't let you enjoy anything, least of all meals. You eat with one eye on the trees and one ear tuned for the wrong kind of silence. The food is bad, the setting is worse, the company is tired, but you eat anyway, because starving in the jungle, that's just dying slower. The first time it rains, you think, relief. You're drenched in sweat, your clothes cling like shrink wrap, and the idea of cool water falling from the sky almost sounds like a gift. You're wrong. You just don't know it yet. Because it doesn't just rain on Guadalcanal. It pours, it dumps, it assaults. The clouds don't open gently. They rupture, with no warning. 1 minute you're walking along a narrow jungle path, the next you're standing in a vertical river. The sky flips a switch, and suddenly it's like standing under a faucet turned to full blast, one that smells faintly of rotten fungus. Your helmet fills up in minutes. You tip it out, it refills. Your rifle sling softens and slips. The grip gets slick, you wipe it down. It's wet again, before your hand even leaves it. The water runs down your back, into your socks, inside your sleeves. It gets everywhere. There are no waterproof layers. The poncho helps for exactly 10 minutes before the water finds a way in. At the collar, the seams, your waistband. Then it sticks to your body like a second skin, trapping heat, and making every movement a squishing, clinging ordeal. The rain doesn't cool you off. Not really. It steams against your skin. The air stays heavy. The moisture thickens everything. The heat, the smell, the silence. It doesn't rinse the sweat from your face. It just mixes with it and shoves it into your eyes. The mud appears instantly. Not mud like back home. This is something else. Thicker, deeper, alive. It grabs your boots and doesn't let go. You step and feel your heel suction down. You pull and your ankle twists. You try to walk faster and you fall. There's no traction, no footing, just an endless field of brown sludge and half-buried roots. Your foxhole floods within the hour, not a little, not a trickle. It turns into a pond. Your pack floats, your socks float, your cigarettes dissolve. You try to bail it out with a helmet, then give up and sit in it. What else are you going to do? Everything sags. Sandbags collapse, tarps buckle, trenches erode. The plank over the latrine sinks. Someone loses a boot in it. They don't get it back. Your gear smells worse now. The canvas straps go soft. The metal parts rust faster. The ammo tins leak. You open one and find 5 rounds fused together by some chemical process involving water, heat, and the universe hating you. Your sleeping area, if you can call it that, becomes uninhabitable. The ground turns into soup. You lie down and feel the water soak through your shirt into your back, like you're laying in a sponge that someone just used to clean a latrine. And the rain doesn't stop. That's the worst part. You think it's over. It slows down. You start to move. It starts again. Harder. Louder. Like it's mad you doubted it. It rains at noon, at dusk, at midnight. Sometimes for 15 minutes. Sometimes for 8 hours. Sometimes it rains so hard that you can't hear someone yelling next to you. You just see their mouth move while the water pounds everything around you into mush. You don't stay dry. Ever. Your towels are wet. Your backup socks are wet. The inside of your pack is wet. Your skin permanently wrinkled, soft to the touch, starting to smell sour. You can't tell if the smell is you, or the rot, or the mildew. Probably all 3. You try to dry things out when the sun breaks through. Doesn't help. The humidity's too high. Your shirt, hung on a stick for 2 hours, feels damper than when you took it off. Your boots steam in the sun. You watch the water hiss off them like they're cooking from the inside. The corpseman looks at your feet. He shakes his head, tells you to keep them dry. You both laugh at that. Not a real laugh, the kind you make when the rules no longer apply. You walk patrols in the rain. You eat in the rain. You dig in the rain. You watch people die in the rain. The jungle smells like rot and blood and wet gunpowder. You've stopped noticing the difference. Your skin starts to change. Not just blisters now. The texture's different. Sponge-like. Inflamed. You scratch and get a handful of dead skin. You press your thumb into your arm and leave an indentation for a full minute. The rain doesn't care. It just keeps coming. You've learned how to sleep wet. That's a skill now. You close your eyes while water drips off your nose. You curl under a tarp that leaks. You lie on your side to keep one half dry at a time. It's never comfortable. But you stopped needing comfort a long time ago. The jungle doesn't dry out. Even when the rain stops, the moisture hangs in the air like a fog. Your boots squish for days. Your fingers stay pruny. Your rifle rusts. You wipe it again. It rusts more. Someone says it's the wet season. You ask when that ends. They shrug. Sometime next year. A guy in your squad hasn't spoken in 2 days. Not from trauma, just from damp. He moves like his bones are soaked through. His gear squeaks. His hands shake. He coughs and water comes up. Not phlegm. Water. Like he's breathing the rain now. The trenches are full of puddles. You step into one and sink to your shin. You feel something squirm past your ankle. You pretend it's a fish. You hope it's not a leech. You stop trying to clean anything. You just rotate things. Wet, wetter, mouldy. You scrape your helmet out with a spoon once a day. It grows things now. You remember what dry felt like. Socks from the dryer? A towel wrapped around your shoulders. Bed sheets with corners. You remember it like you remember movies, vaguely, not personally. Now dry is a myth, a joke, a thing people talk about in letters from home. But here, on this island, rain is the only thing that shows up on time. You lie down, finally. That's how it starts. You're not comfortable, you're not ready. But your legs stopped working like legs 2 hours ago, and your back feels like it's been reshaped by a cinder block. So you lower yourself to the ground, slowly, carefully. Your knees pop, your shoulders burn. You ease down like you're diffusing something. because you basically are your own nervous system. Your bed is a shallow impression in the ground, lined with a tarp that's been wet since day 2. You think it was green once. Now it's brown, covered in dirt, sweat, insect parts, and the faint outline of mildew that looks suspiciously alive. Your poncho is your blanket. Or it was. Now it's a cold plastic rectangle that smells like rubber and damp socks. You pull it over your shoulders. It sticks to your skin. You try to adjust. Water slides down your collar. You lie still. You tell yourself this is rest. This is recovery. You try to slow your breathing. You listen to the jungle. Big mistake. The jungle is loud. It never shuts up. Frogs bark like dogs. Birds shriek like wounded children. Insects click and buzz in patterns that sound like they're laughing at you. The trees creak. The leaves crack. Something nearby howls. Probably a monkey. Maybe not. You close your eyes. Mosquitoes find your face. They land gently. They don't care that you've smeared yourself in repellent 3 times already. They don't care that your skin is already pocked and raw. They dig in. You slap one. Miss. Slap again. Too late. You wipe your cheek. Your hand comes away with blood. Probably yours. You close your eyes again. Try breathing slower. That's when you notice it. The smell. Not one smell. A mix. Damp gear. Mouldy canvas. Your own body. Nearby latrine. The faint tang of someone's untreated wound. And somewhere underneath all of it, the sweet rot of something dead in the jungle. You don't know what. You don't want to know. You just know it's there. Every night. A rat runs by your boot. You don't flinch. You used to. Now you just register it like weather. You curl your feet in a little. You hear it rustle into someone else's pack. Not your problem anymore. You shift your weight. Your hip digs into something hard. A rock, a root, the handle of your entrenching tool. You shift again. Now your shoulder is wet. Your arm's asleep. Your spine is buzzing. You can't win. Something bites your ankle. You scratch it. The bite opens. You feel the blood. You scratch again. It gets worse. You keep scratching until you forget why you're doing it. You roll onto your back and stare up. The trees are silhouettes. The sky is a blur. Somewhere up there are stars, but you haven't seen them in weeks. The canopy blocks everything. Light, air, hope. All filtered through dripping leaves and a constant background hum that never stops. Even when your mind begs for silence. You blink slow. Maybe this time. Then someone coughs. A deep, wet rattle from 2 foxholes over. You know that cough. It's either the beginning of something or the end of something. You listen to see if there's a follow-up. There is. Another cough, then a groan. You pull your poncho tighter. There's nothing you can do. Just hope he doesn't start vomiting. Or worse. The guy next to you shifts. He grinds his teeth. He does that in his sleep. He doesn't know. You do, every night. It sounds like chalkboard torture. You used to nudge him. Not anymore. Now you just live with it. Someone snores. Another mumbles in his sleep. You catch a word. Something about home, or food, or mum. It doesn't matter. He'll wake up and forget it in the morning. Or pretend to. You feel your eyelids start to fall. Then you hear it. Movement. Not big. Not close. But sharp. Deliberate. Could be an animal. Could be worse. You freeze. Heart rate up. Eyes wide. Every muscle tensed. Your rifle is next to you. You grip it. Slowly. Quietly. Safety off. You listen. Nothing. Then more rustling. Different direction. You hold your breath. Count to 5, then 10. Still nothing. Could be the wind. Could be your imagination. Could be someone crawling. You don't know. You never know. That's the problem. The jungle never tells you what it's hiding. You lie back. Keep the rifle close. Now you're fully awake again. You sigh. Try again. Roll onto your side, and the ground's cold now. Or maybe you've just sweated yourself dry. Doubtful. Your shirt still feels like a damp towel left in a gym bag. You close your eyes, focus on breathing. In, out. Your stomach growls. You ignore it. Your hip cramps. You stretch. It doesn't help. Something lands on your face. Probably a leaf. Could be a bug. You swipe it away without opening your eyes. Your foot itches. You try not to scratch. You scratch anyway. You stop counting time. It doesn't matter. Could be midnight. Could be 4 a.m. Could be 30 minutes since you first lay down. Your brain won't shut up. It replays the patrol, the sound of that branch cracking, the way the corpsman looked at your rash, the guy who didn't come back from the last watch, the sound that might have been a Japanese soldier moving through the underbrush, the way your foot slipped in the mud and almost made you drop your weapon. You try not to think. That's worse. The silence fills in with the stuff you buried. Home, your family, your old life, the way food used to taste, the feeling of putting on clean socks. You blink again. Still awake. Always awake. Sleep is something that happens to other people. People with mattresses. With rooms. With doors. With lives that don't involve mouldy ponchos, and hallucinating whether that sound was a lizard or a bayonet. Out here, sleep is a gamble, and you've already lost so much. The first shot doesn't scare you. Not really. You've heard it before. Sharp crack. Somewhere off to the left. Not close, not far. You freeze, listen, squint into the trees. You think, probably nothing. Just nerves. Just someone jumping at a shadow. You go back to scanning your sector. Then another shot. Closer. Then yelling. Suddenly it's not just one shot. It's a series. Too fast to count. A dozen rifles, maybe more. Someone's panicking. Someone's firing. You duck behind a tree, heart pounding, rifle up. You don't know who's shooting or why. You just know it's loud and everyone's yelling and no one knows what they're aiming at. It's a night patrol gone wrong. Again. This isn't a rare event. This is weekly, sometimes nightly. When every man is starving, half blind in the dark, and one jungle shadow away from a full nervous breakdown, it doesn't take much. A stick snapping, a branch swaying, a guy stepping off the path and not saying the right code word fast enough. That's all it takes. So you get friendly fire. A phrase that sounds absurd the moment you say it. Friendly. As if the bullets travel slower. As if the bleeding hurts less. You've seen it happen. You've seen a guy go down screaming with a round through his leg, fired by the guy 10 feet behind him. You've seen someone stumble into camp after getting lost and immediately get shot at because no one recognised him. Didn't matter that he was screaming in English. People were too scared to listen. You saw what happened after. They dragged him into the dugout, patched him up as best they could, and nobody spoke. Nobody apologised. Nobody explained. The corpsman tied a bandage around his arm and said, "You're lucky." The guy didn't answer. He just stared ahead, like he was still trying to figure out who he was supposed to be mad at. You don't always know who pulled the trigger. Sometimes nobody admits it. Sometimes it's blamed on the Japs. That's safer. Easier. But you know. You heard the shot. You heard the direction. You heard the panic in the voice that followed. That moment when someone realised too late they fired at the wrong silhouette. And it's not just rifles. You've seen a guy throw a grenade because he thought he heard movement. No one got hit, but the trees were full of shrapnel for days. You found a chunk of it lodged in your ammo pouch. Another inch, and it would have been your thigh. One guy emptied half a clip into a bush that looked wrong. Turns out it was a comms wire. Spent the next 2 days digging a new one. Nobody talked to him for a week. You start to question every noise, every flicker of light. You squint harder. You hesitate longer. That's not good either. The enemy's real. Out there. They're quiet, patient, just like you. If you wait too long to shoot, you die. If you shoot too fast, your buddy dies. You try to find the middle ground. There isn't one. There's a guy in your squad. Doesn't sleep much. Doesn't talk much. Stares a lot. He keeps his rifle loaded, safety off, finger on the trigger. Always. He's already fired twice at shadows. Nothing was there. Nobody died yet. You've been close to pulling the trigger yourself. Too close. You saw movement once. Fast, low, silent. Could have been an enemy. Could have been a monkey. Could have been Jenkins coming back from pissing. You didn't fire. You held. Turned out to be a wild dog. Still not sure if you made the right call. The problem is, you're trained to shoot when threatened. But here, everything's a threat. The trees, the dark, the bugs, your own breath fogging up your vision. And the enemy, they know that. They count on it. They bait you into panicking. They make noise in one direction and flank from another. They know you're sleep-deprived, malnourished, and twitchy. The enemy fire, the actual enemy, that's different. When it comes, it's brutal. Quick, precise. You'll be eating, talking, fixing your boot, and then it hits. A mortar drops into the tree line. A burst of machine gun fire rips across your perimeter. You don't see them, just flashes. Then someone screams. You dive. You return fire. You aim at nothing and hope to hit something. You unload a full mag into a bush and pray. The guy next to you does the same. You yell, they yell. You both duck and reload and do it again. Sometimes it works, sometimes the firing stops. You sit up, heart hammering, ears ringing, trying to count who's still alive. Sometimes it was just a probe. Sometimes it was just them testing you. Sometimes you find a body. Usually not. Just blood and drag marks. They're fast. Smarter than you want to admit. And when they do come in full force, it's not a firefight. It's chaos. You've seen men freeze. You've seen others snap. One guy kept shooting long after the enemy was gone. Emptied 3 mags. We had to tackle him to make him stop. He stared at his rifle like he didn't recognise it. Sometimes you hear them in the trees, whispering, laughing, like they know you can't do anything about it, like they're just playing with you. You fire back, nothing hits, nothing answers. You reload, you keep watch, you don't sleep. The fear isn't just getting shot, it's getting shot by someone who eats with you, talks to you, shares the same water and disease and trench. Someone who sees you twitch and panics. Someone who hears a noise and assumes you're the enemy. Someone who sees a shape and doesn't wait to identify it. That's what wears you down. Not just the jungle, not just the enemy. It's knowing that on this island, anyone with a rifle and a twitchy finger might be the thing that kills you. Even if they're on your side. You smell it before you see anything. That's how it works out here. You don't find the dead, you detect them. It starts with a sour edge to the breeze. Not strong, just wrong. Like meat left out, but older, wetter, and a little sweet in the worst possible way. It gets stronger as you move closer. You're on patrol, or gathering firewood, or just walking because someone told you to. The smell creeps up like it's stalking you. You check your boots, you check your canteen. Maybe it's something you stepped in. It's not. Then you find the body. Sometimes it's whole. Usually not. It could be American, could be Japanese, could be both. It doesn't matter. The jungle doesn't play favourites. It bloats them the same, peels their skin the same, turns them into something unrecognisable with the same insects and heat and patience. There's a marine face down in the mud with his helmet half off. His skin's gone grey. His fingers are curled like they're still holding something. His eyes are gone. You don't know when he died. Could have been yesterday. Could have been 3 weeks ago. The jungle's fast and slow at the same time. The details are vague. The smell isn't. The corpsman says, leave him. There's no body detail today. Too risky. Not enough people. Not enough time. You mark the spot with a stick and move on. Maybe someone comes back later. Maybe not. You learn to breathe through your mouth. Doesn't help. The stench still finds you. Thick. Wet. A coating on your tongue. You chew gum. Doesn't help either. Now it just tastes like mint and rot. The smell clings to your gear. Your uniform. Your fingers. You wipe them on your pants like that'll fix it. It doesn't. You just carry it back to camp. Sometimes it's not a body. Not yet. It's something close. A wound that's gone bad. A boot that hasn't been taken off in 5 days. A sock that smells like infection. You sit next to someone and get a whiff. And that's it. Your appetite's gone for hours. Not that you had much of one anyway. The trenches reek. Not just from people. From everything. Mud, mould, stagnant water, blood, feces, swamp gas. The air gets trapped. It hangs low. You climb down and the smell hits you like a punch. You swallow hard and pretend it's nothing. Everyone else does. Someone says you get used to it. They're lying. What really happens is you lose the ability to tell what's new and what's just standard. You smell like this place now. It's in your pores. You couldn't wash it off if you tried. You haven't tried. Not in a while. There's no water for that. Not enough to waste. Then there's the gear. Mould creeps into everything. Your pack smells like old bread. Your rifle strap smells like wet dog. Your canteen smells metallic, with a hint of decay. You drink from it anyway. What's the alternative? You've got food in a tin that smells like sweat. Your spoon has been in so many mouths, it tastes like someone else's past. You wash it with spit and move on. You chew with your mouth half open so you don't inhale through your nose. The latrine doesn't help. It's not a pit anymore. It's a swamp of failure. You walk near it and your throat tightens. You hold your breath and sprint past. Doesn't matter. The smell latches on. You take it with you. You always do. Rain doesn't fix it. Just moves it around. Turns everything into a stew of odours. Wet fabric. Old rot. Jungle gas. The occasional sharp snap of cordite when someone fires around. All of it layered. None of it good. You don't talk about it. No one does. It's just another part of the war you didn't train for. The part they don't put in the manuals. You expected bullets? You didn't expect your own uniform to smell like a hospital dumpster. Then there's the enemy dead. You come across them sometimes. Shallow graves, or none at all. A foot sticking out of the mud. A face looking up from under a branch. You don't know how long it's been. You don't want to. You move past them. Slowly. Respectfully. Not because you care, but because you've seen what happens when someone steps too close and the ground gives way. You try not to breathe. You fail. Sometimes you hear someone vomiting. Not from food, not from illness, just from the smell. One guy wears a bandana soaked in tobacco juice over his mouth, says it helps. He still gags when we pass the dead mule out by the riverbank. It's been there 2 weeks. The belly split open last Tuesday. Now it's just a monument to what the sun and flies can do to a living thing. You lie in your hole at night and you smell it. All of it. The guy next to you, yourself, the jungle, the rot, the fear. It all combines into a perfume of survival. You cover your nose with your shirt. That makes it worse. Sometimes you think you've stopped noticing. Then a breeze shifts and you get a fresh wave of something new. Something awful. You freeze. Gag. Cough into your hand. The guy next to you doesn't flinch. He's already too far gone. The worst part? Eventually you start using it. The smell tells you things. Dead bodies. Recently fired rifles. Infected wounds. Spoiled food. Decaying boots. You learn to identify them by scent before you see anything. It becomes a kind of second language. Not one you wanted, but one you speak now, fluently. You don't write home about it. There's no way to explain how you can smell death on your own skin and not be surprised anymore. It starts like thunder, not the kind that rolls in from a distance, the kind that arrives like it's already mad at you. A low, deep rumble that punches your ribs from the inside. You sit up in your hole, listen, wait, it comes again. Louder this time, not thunder, naval guns. You're nowhere near the beach right now. The jungle wraps around you like a wet fist. You can't see the water. You haven't in days. But when the battleships start talking, the whole island hears them. At first, you think maybe it's your guys. Maybe the Navy's finally doing something helpful. Then you realise the pattern's wrong. The timing's too precise. That's Japanese shelling. Probably from a cruiser. Maybe 2. Big guns. 6-inch or 8-inch. Doesn't really matter. They all sound like gods arguing with sledgehammers. You lie flat. Not because you're under fire. You're not. Not yet. But when the horizon itself starts making that noise, your instincts tell you to get small and stay that way. You can't see anything. No ships. No targets. Just flashes somewhere behind the trees and the echoes bouncing off the hills. Sometimes it sounds like it's coming from above you. Sometimes it sounds like it's already inside your head. The guys on the coast catch the worst of it. You've heard the stories. The beach positions get flattened, guns overturned, fuel depots exploding like firecrackers. There was a guy who dug his foxhole into the side of a sand dune and came out with a broken nose from the shockwave alone. You ask yourself how they even know where to aim. Probably don't. Just guessing. Saturation fire. If they hit something, great. If not, who cares? There's more shells where that came from. And more nights like this. You try to sleep through it. You can't. Each impact feels like it's coming for you. Like maybe this time the angle's changed. And one of those shells is about to hit a few hundred yards deeper inland. You can hear the earth absorb them, like it's bracing or giving up. Then out of nowhere, the return fire. Our ships are out there too. Somewhere. Beyond the reef. Beyond the mist. They've been waiting. You hear the whistle of countershells. Louder, faster, meaner. A different tone. American guns have their own voice, flatter, steadier, like they're trying to talk the Japanese ones into shutting up. Sometimes you hear a hit. It's unmistakable. A new kind of explosion. A metallic whump that rattles your teeth and sends birds screeching out of the canopy. You picture it. A turret ripped off. A hull cracked open. Someone on deck flying backward without even knowing what hit them. You don't cheer. There's nothing to celebrate. Just one less ship, maybe. One less reason to duck tomorrow night. The battle goes on for hours. Sometimes it stops for a while. You think it's over. Then it starts again. Louder, closer, further. It doesn't matter. You still can't see any of it. Just the noise, the concussions, the shuddering ground, the taste of gunpowder in your mouth even though you're miles inland. Some night it's flares. You see them drifting over the trees, glowing like sick moons. They cast shadows in the jungle that move the wrong way. They light up the edges of your camp like someone's holding a flashlight under your chin. You want to hide, but where? Everything's lit. Everything's exposed. You just sit still and hope. You hear the buzz of planes, the roar of engines. Sometimes they're ours, sometimes not. You never know until something explodes. One night, a Japanese bomber made it through, dropped a load on the airfield. You weren't there, but you saw the flames from 5 miles away. It looked like a lighthouse for ghosts. The next morning you find shrapnel, just a twisted chunk of metal in the mud where you piss. Could have come from anywhere. A reminder that the war isn't just around you, it's layered above you too, firing from over the horizon, killing people you'll never see, for reasons you stopped thinking about a long time ago. You talk to a guy who worked the guns on a destroyer before he got transferred here. He says being on a ship during one of those night battles is worse. Says you can hear the enemy rounds skipping across the water before they slam into the hull. Says the whole ship tilts when the main guns fire. Says the ocean lights up like the 4th of July. If the 4th ended with your friends on fire, he doesn't talk much after that. Sometimes in the morning, you hear the reports. 1 cruiser sunk. 2 destroyers damaged. Heavy enemy losses. You don't believe it. Or you do, but it doesn't change anything. The shelling always comes back. The night always hums with gunfire. And you always end up lying in the dirt, wondering which blast is going to be the one that turns your hole into a crater. You try not to think about the sailors, the ones who never came ashore, the ones dying in their own version of this hell, just wetter and colder and maybe louder. You're all stuck in the same war, just on different pieces of the chessboard. And every time the board shakes, you remember just how small your square really is. The naval battles are like thunderstorms you can't outrun. You can't fight them. You can't see them. But you can feel them in your bones. They remind you that even when things seem quiet out here, somewhere out there, someone's dying loud. And it's only a matter of time before it's your turn again. At some point, your brain just adjusts. Not in a healthy way. Not like you found balance or figured something out. More like a permanent shift. A quiet reconfiguration. The part of you that's supposed to panic doesn't. The part that used to care about things. Clean clothes, normal meals, polite conversation. It just folds up and exits the building. You're still here physically. But what inside is running on fumes and instinct? People talk about keeping it together. You hear that phrase a lot. Guys joke about it. Still sane, I think, someone says, after 6 straight days without sleep and 3 with diarrhea. Everyone laughs. Not because it's funny, because no one knows what else to do. You don't talk about your dreams. Mostly because you're not sure they're dreams anymore. You wake up and can't tell if the rats crawling across your chest were real. If the gunfire was last night or 5 nights ago. If the voice you heard whispering in the trees was Japanese or your own. You stare into the jungle for hours and don't remember blinking. You bite your fingernails until they bleed and then keep biting. You scratch mosquito bites until they're open wounds. You run through every second of that last patrol again and again in your head, even though nothing happened. And still, you can't stop replaying it. There's no word for what this is. You're not depressed. That sounds like something from a book. You're just blank, hollow. You eat because it's time to eat. You sit because standing hurts. You move because the sergeant said move. One guy in your platoon hasn't spoken in 3 days. No reason. He just stopped. You asked him something, and he blinked at you like he forgot English. Now he just stares at the trees and drinks water with both hands like he's afraid it'll fall. Another guy laughs randomly. Not real laughs. Sharp, short, nervous bursts. He starts telling a story from boot camp, and then trails off mid-sentence. Eyes dart around. Never finishes it. No one asks him to. Nobody says the word crazy. It's bad luck. And anyway, who isn't? One guy talks to his dead brother every night. Not like a metaphor. Out loud. Full conversations. He whispers under his poncho so no one hears. But you do. And nobody says anything. What are you going to do? Stop him? You try writing a letter home. You stare at the paper for an hour. You write, "Dear Mum," and then nothing. What do you say? It's going well. I can't sleep. I smell like a dead animal, and I think I saw something in the jungle that might have been a hallucination, but also maybe wasn't. So you just write, "I'm fine, everything's fine." Sign it, fold it, mail it. You don't even remember what you wrote the next day. Sometimes you find yourself staring at your rifle too long, not in a suicidal way, just wondering, like, this is the thing I trust most out here. This piece of metal and wood. This is the only reliable thing I have. You clean it more than you clean yourself. You run your fingers along the barrel like it's familiar. Like it's family. Someone mentioned a chaplain once. You think he's still around. No one knows where. He doesn't come out much. Can't blame him. There are no sessions. No one pulls you aside and checks in. You don't have heart-to-hearts with the sergeant. Nobody's asking how you're feeling. They're asking if you reloaded your mag and whether the foxhole's deep enough. A guy cracked last week? Just stood up and walked into the jungle. Didn't take his gear. Didn't say a word. Just walked. They found him 2 hours later, sitting in a creek, talking to a coconut, like it was his daughter. He's gone now. Back to the rear. If the boat came. If not, he's probably still back there. Somewhere. You don't joke about losing it anymore. Because you're close. You know it. You feel it. You catch yourself blinking too slow. Forgetting what day it is. Forgetting your own name for a second. You say something out loud and it sounds wrong, like someone else's voice. You forget words. You stop noticing when people cry at night. You saw a guy flinch when someone touched his shoulder. Full on panic. Flashed his knife. Almost cut the guy. Didn't even apologise. Just sat back down and started rocking. You tell yourself you're okay, because the alternative is realising you're not. And there's nothing out here for not okay. No help, no pills, no beds with clean sheets and a guy with a clipboard. Just a muddy hole, a rusted weapon, and the next patrol waiting on you. Sometimes the rain helps, covers the noise in your head. Other times it makes it worse, traps you in your own thoughts. Nothing to do but listen to your breathing and wonder if it sounds normal. You're not scared anymore. Not like you used to be. The fear calcified into something else. Not courage, not bravery, just numb. The ability to keep moving when nothing inside wants to. One guy used to be a teacher. Elementary school. Told stories about his kids back home. Now he doesn't mention them. You asked once. He said, "They're better off forgetting me." That was the end of that. You try not to think about after, about going home, because the more you think about it, the more it feels like a place that doesn't exist, like it's happened to someone else. You imagine sitting in a chair again, and it feels wrong. You picture a quiet room, and it scares you more than this jungle ever has. Your head's not right, nobody's is, but you keep going. Not because you're strong, because there's no other option. Because stopping would mean admitting the damage. And there's no room for that here. Not in this war. Mental health? Never heard of her. You're told there's a shipment coming. That's the first mistake. You let yourself believe it. Word goes around camp. Fresh rations. Maybe new boots. Maybe even mail. A boat's coming in tonight. That's what someone says. Could be a rumour. Probably is. But still, a little flicker of hope sneaks in. You think, maybe this time. You check your socks again. One's got a hole big enough to fit a finger through. The other's mostly just fabric in concept. You look at your rifle sling, one thread away from snapping. You fantasize about replacements, dry boots, a clean shirt. Maybe something canned that doesn't smell like spoiled metal. You don't even want luxury. You just want functioning. Then it rains. Of course it rains. The water rises, the airfield turns to soup, and any chance of a plane coming in dies under the weight of the storm clouds. So you shift your mental hope from the air to the sea. Boats, they'll come. Any minute now. The night drags on. Nothing. You hear distant shelling. Could be ours, could be theirs. You try not to think about what that means for the convoy. In the morning you ask if the boat made it. The lieutenant won't say. That's never a good sign. Someone else says the supply ship got turned around, or missed the island entirely, or got hit, or just decided not to show up. You'll never know which. All you know is the boxes didn't arrive. Again. You look at what's left. Your squad has a quarter can of coffee, a few cigarettes stored in a waterproof pouch, ration tins that expired a decade before you were born, crackers that crumble on contact. One guy's been reusing his spoon for a month. It's bent. He sharpens the edge against a rock to use it as a knife. Innovation, they call it. Desperation's more accurate. Ammo's low too. Not gone, just not enough to feel good about. You've been told to conserve it. Fire only when necessary. Which would make sense if the enemy felt like cooperating. But they don't. They shoot when they feel like it. So you return fire and reload slower, thinking about every round like it's a coin you're throwing into a well with no bottom. Water's the real problem. You've got purification tablets, but they ran out last week. Now it's boil or gamble. Most gamble. Boiling takes time, firewood, and containers that aren't leaking. The river's right there. So is dysentery. Pick your poison. You've seen guys drink straight from puddles. No shame anymore. Just need. A full canteen is worth more than money out here. More than cigarettes. More than morphine. You sip yours and pretend you're not counting every drop. You used to keep your gear in order. You used to clean your rifle every day. Now the oil's almost gone. You ration it. A drop here, a wipe there. You spit into the chamber when you're desperate. Someone says that's bad for it. You shrug. So is dying. You've been wearing the same undershirt for a month. You don't remember what colour it started as. The collar's frayed, the seams have mould. There's a hole near the armpit you can fit a thumb through. You're not washing it. Washing it would mean having soap, or time, or motivation. Your poncho tore last week. You patched it with a bit of your sock. Now neither one works. The supply guy is just as lost as you. You go up to ask about boots. He laughs. Not cruelly, just bitter. Says he hasn't seen new boots in weeks. Says even if they came in, you're not high enough on the list. There's always someone with worse feet. You look down at yours. Blackened toes, skin peeling, trench rot turning into something else. You nod. Fair enough. They say there's a system. Pallets, manifests, requisition forms. Maybe somewhere far away in an office. That system works. Maybe someone's sitting at a desk marking boxes and counting rations, thinking this whole thing is humming along nicely. You'd love to meet that guy. Just once. Sometimes the Navy airdrops supplies. They come down on parachutes. You see the chute and get excited. Then it lands a mile away in the middle of enemy territory. No one goes to get it. Not worth it. Once, a crate landed in the river and sank instantly. Full of boots. They were dry for about 5 seconds. You think about writing it all down, filing a report, listing what's missing. Then you remember no one's reading reports anymore. Not yours anyway. You could write, we need food, ammo, water, socks, morale, and it'd get filed under pending. And you'll be dead before it moves to approved. A guy in your platoon still has a toothbrush. Not a full one, just the handle and a few bristles. He brushes once a week, just to remember what it feels like. You envy him. Your mouth tastes like rust and old crackers. You tried to trade for soap once. Offered a working lighter. The guy said he'd rather keep the lighter. You asked what he'd trade the soap for. He said, morphine, you didn't have any. Conversation over. You dream about supply. Not the stuff, the feeling. Of getting what you're supposed to get. Of knowing someone, somewhere, remembered you were out here. It's not even about comfort anymore. Just acknowledgement. Existence. You hear the word resupply, and it makes you tired. You picture a boat full of crates that never make it. You picture food that goes bad in the hold. You picture replacement boots stacked on a dock, while some guy with a clipboard triple checks paperwork. Meanwhile, your laces are tied with wire, and your shirt is a collection of stains held together by sweat and hope. The supply chain's coming. That's what they say. It always is. You almost forget there's a war sometimes. Not because it stops, just because it changes shape. It's not always bullets and explosions. Sometimes it's the absence of noise. That's what gets you. That's what sets off the alarms in your brain now. The Japanese don't make mistakes. That's the part that sinks in first. They're not loud. They don't stumble through the brush or knock over branches or breathe like they're trying to scare you. They move like smoke. They watch. They wait. They blend into the jungle like it was made for them. Because in some ways it was. You walk a patrol route and feel it. That itch on your neck. Not fear. Not even certainty. Just a presence. A pressure. Like you're being measured from a distance. You pause. Squint into the undergrowth. Nothing. Not a sound. Not a glint of metal. But you feel it. Everyone does. No one talks about it. There's a stretch of trail they call Ambush Alley. Nothing's ever happened there, officially, but nobody walks it alone. Too many weird feelings. Too many bad dreams after. You don't even ask anymore. You just avoid it if you can. At night, it's worse. You take your watch shift, crouched low in the mud, weapon across your knees. The darkness is complete. The jungle sways in slow, humid movements. And you hear nothing. That's when you know they're close. You don't hear birds. You don't hear frogs. Everything goes silent. Even the bugs shut up. That silence means they're nearby. Not attacking. Not yet. Just scouting. Just watching. You tighten your grip. Every leaf becomes a shape. Every branch a weapon. Every flicker of movement a possible ending. But nothing comes. You sit there, sweating into your rifle, wondering if this is the night you don't make it. They dig in when they want to. You've seen their positions. After. Hidden so well you'd have stepped on one without knowing. Covered in moss. Blended with brush. Inside tree lines you passed 12 times. You only see them once someone throws a grenade, or you stumble over a corpse. They don't leave gear behind. They don't leave trash. They don't drop wrappers or shell casings or cigarette butts. You look for signs. There are none. You find a hole, an impression in the dirt, maybe a slit trench, that's all. The rest vanished with them. You find footprints in the mud that weren't there the day before. You count your squad again. Same number. So who left them? You know. You just don't want to say it out loud. They crawl through terrain you won't even walk. Ravines, swamps, thick undergrowth. You're convinced some of them don't even need boots. They move like ghosts. Fast when they want to be. Gone before you can react. You fire at a shadow and it's already somewhere else. You've been shot at by someone you never saw. No muzzle flash. No voice. Just the crack of the round. The bark of a tree exploding near your head. And then silence again. You return fire into nothing. You sweep the area, find nothing. They're already gone. Or maybe they're still there, waiting for you to stop looking. You found a canteen once. Japanese issue. Still full. Left on a rock like someone forgot it. You didn't touch it. None of you did. Booby trap, maybe? Or maybe they just wanted to see what you'd do. One guy swears he saw a Japanese scout in the trees, watching him shave. Didn't move. Didn't flinch. Just locked eyes for a second and vanished. Nobody laughed at the story. They attack when they want to. Not before. Not when you're ready. It happens fast. 1 minute you're eating, resting, talking. Next minute, all hell, screaming, gunfire. Someone goes down. Then another. They come in from the side, from behind, from the trees. You get off 5 shots and hit nothing. Then it's quiet again. Like it didn't happen. You bury your dead. Sometimes theirs are already gone by the time you get there. You've seen their tunnels. Dug into hillsides, hidden behind vines. So tight you can barely crawl through. Pitch black. Cramped. They live in those. Sleep in them. Store weapons in them. Wait in them. Once they tunnelled under a position and popped out behind the line. Slit 2 throats before anyone knew they were there. Then disappeared back underground. No one slept for 3 days after that. They're hungry too. Sick, just like you. But they keep coming. No complaints, no noise. Just discipline and patience and the kind of terrifying calm you didn't know people could operate with in a place like this. You start to see them even when they're not there. A shadow behind a tree. A shape in the corner of your eye. A figure crouched by a stump that turns out to be just a sack of sand. But for that half second, your body prepares to die. You never get used to it. You just adjust your expectations. You stop looking for a full assault. You start waiting for a single shot. A knife in the dark. A grenade rolled quietly into your foxhole at 2 a.m. You hope they're not there. You never believe they're not. You learn to whisper. You learn to step light. You learn that if you think you're alone, you're not. And if you feel safe, you're not paying attention. Because the Japanese, they're always closer than you think. One morning, it's quiet. Not the kind of quiet that comes before an ambush. Not the waiting for a shell quiet. Just nothing. Still air. No gunfire. No shouting. No radio screaming for updates. It doesn't feel real. You wake up and check your weapon first, out of habit. Still loaded. Still rusted. Still yours. You listen. You wait. You wonder. No new orders. No movement. No sound from the hills. You stare into the trees like they might start whispering again, but they don't. Nothing does. Then someone says it. They're pulling out. You don't react. You blink. You ask, what does that mean? They're leaving the island. The Japanese. It's over. Over. That's a word you haven't heard in months. You chew on it. Doesn't taste like anything. You look around. The jungle still looks the same. Wet. Rotten. The same flies buzz over the same pile of mouldy gear. Your trench is still half flooded. You've got 4 mosquito bites on your neck and 1 boot that squishes when you shift your weight. But apparently the fighting is over. There's no flag raising, no parade, no band, just a few officers nodding and saying things like secured position and strategic success. Whatever that means. Nobody cheers, nobody claps. You just sit there with the same headache, the same hunger, the same infection crawling up your leg. Someone starts packing their gear. Not because you're leaving, you're not. Just instincts. As if motion will make the feeling real. They tell you the Japanese evacuated during the night, pulled out in boats, quiet, efficient, slipped away like they fought. Unseen, disciplined, just gone. The Navy saw some of it, or said they did. Nobody knows for sure. All you know is your patrol didn't run into anyone this morning. First time in forever. You check your rifle twice. Still loaded. Still warm from your hands, just in case. You ask if this means you're going home. The guy shrugs. He doesn't know. You don't either. Nobody does. There's always another island, another ridge, another something. Guadalcanal's just the latest badge of survival, not a finish line. You're told the campaign lasted 6 months. Feels like a decade. You don't remember the date you landed. You remember the mud, the smells, the sound of someone coughing themselves to death next to you. You remember the guy who drowned in a hole full of rainwater because his foot slipped and no one noticed until the morning. But the calendar says you won. So you sit in a puddle and eat the last half of a cracker you found in your pack and try to figure out what that's supposed to feel like. They call it a turning point, a major victory in the Pacific. They say it will change the direction of the war. That's what the radio says. That's what the officers say. You just nod. You're too tired to argue, too sick, too thin, too far past whatever line you used to have for caring. You're not celebrating, you're not reflecting, you're just surviving. You're alive, and that's supposed to be enough. And maybe it is. You're not sure anymore. The goalposts keep moving. A letter comes in a few days later. From home. From someone who says they're proud. Someone who writes, "We heard you won," like you just played a football game. You read it, fold it, put it away. You don't write back. Not yet. What are you supposed to say? Yeah, we won, I think. I'm still here. I still smell like mildew and rot. My fingernails are falling off. I haven't seen my own reflection in 3 months. But yeah, big W for the Allies. Nobody wants to hear that. You keep pulling night watch out of habit. Even though they say there's no enemy left, you don't believe them. Not really. You still flinch when branches move. You still check your hole for snakes. You still sleep with one boot on. Victory is just a word. A label. Something someone back home slaps on the operation so it fits neatly into a textbook. It doesn't feel like winning. It feels like not dying. Barely. It feels like drawing the shortest straw and surviving because someone else had worse luck. It feels like standing in the aftermath of a nightmare and realising there's no applause, no curtain call, no credits, just the next sunrise, the next can of whatever they call food this week, the same shirt you've worn since September, and no idea what happens next. They tell you you're going home, just like that, like it's simple, like there's a door waiting somewhere marked exit, no fanfare, no ceremony, just a name called a seat on a boat, and the quiet understanding that you're done, at least with this island. You stand at the shoreline with the others, waiting for the ride out. Boots half submerged in black sand, duffel slung over one shoulder, rifle slung on the other. Not because you need it anymore, but because you don't feel right without it. It's more habit than weapon now. You look back at the tree line, that dense wall of green where you spent what feels like a lifetime. It doesn't look evil, doesn't look like a graveyard, just looks like jungle. Normal. That's what's messed up. If someone dropped you here with no context, you think it was peaceful. Just nature. Just birds and vines and rain. But you know better. You board the boat. It smells like diesel and metal and salt air. And suddenly you remember what salt air is supposed to smell like. Not like the rot-soaked coastal mud of Guadalcanal, but clean. Almost refreshing. You breathe it in, and it hurts a little, because it reminds you what normal used to feel like. The boat pulls away. No one waves. You sail out and leave the island behind. It doesn't fight you, doesn't chase you, doesn't erupt in one last explosion. It just lets you go, like it never cared you were there to begin with. They give you a cot on the ship. You lie down in it and realise your body doesn't know what comfort is anymore. The mattress is too soft, the sheets too clean. You lie there for hours, awake, because your brain doesn't trust it. Nothing has gone wrong yet, and that makes you nervous. You make it back to a base. There's coffee, real coffee, hot, in a cup with a handle. Someone offers you eggs. You stare at them like they're made of gold. You try to eat slow. You fail. Then you get sick. Your stomach can't handle real food anymore. They tell you to relax. You don't know what that means. You sleep with your boots on for the first 3 nights, out of instinct. You keep a knife tucked in your waistband. You wake up in the dark and don't know where you are. The jungle's gone, but the fear isn't. Your hearing's not the same. You flinch at certain sounds. You hear a pot clatter in the mess, and your pulse spikes like you're about to be shelled. You try to laugh it off. No one else does, because you're not alone. Half the guys around you do the same thing, all of you pretending it's normal. Eventually you get a ship to the States, or a plane, or a train. Doesn't matter. The scenery changes, but you don't. You step off the ramp and someone's there. Maybe family, maybe a girl, maybe nobody. You don't cry, you don't smile, you just nod. You're tired of reacting to things. They ask how it was. You say, rough. They nod like they understand. They don't. You walk into a grocery store and the lights feel wrong. Everything's too bright, too colourful, too clean. You see a display of canned peaches and you freeze. You haven't seen peaches in a year. You pick up a can and hold it like a relic. Then you put it back. You don't know what to do with it anymore. You sleep in a bed again. The silence is deafening. No frogs, no shouting, no boots in the mud. Just quiet. You lie there staring at the ceiling, waiting for the night to explode. It doesn't. That's somehow worse. People tell you it's over, that you made it, that you're lucky. You nod. You say yeah. You try to believe it. But you don't go home clean. You carry the mud in your boots and the noise in your head. You carry the names of people who didn't make it. You carry the stares of men who didn't break but didn't quite hold together either. You carry the sound of rain on canvas and the smell of mould and blood and trench rot. And no matter how far you get from Guadalcanal, you carry Guadalcanal. It doesn't wash off. And that's it. That was Guadalcanal. If you made it to the end, congrats. You now have a vague, miserable idea of what it was like to slowly rot under the Pacific sun while fighting a war you barely understood, surrounded by people who smelled like wet socks and regret. If this helped you sleep, that's deeply concerning. But also, I get it. There's something oddly soothing about history at its absolute worst. Good night, and maybe double check your foxhole before you drift off, just in case.